Hi everyone, and welcome to Mike's Mopar Garage. Today we're going to start another upgrade on my 68 Charger, and quite frankly it's something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and that's installing fuel injection. I drive this car a lot, and I just feel that the fuel injection is going to add to the drivability of this car. When researching what fuel injection system I wanted to use, there's many of them out there. There's FITech, the Holly Sniper, MSD makes one. And there's a few other ones that are made that are coming out on the market right now. Throttle body, there's direct port injection ones where you can drill the intakes. What I chose to use, and it's just something that is a personal choice for me, is I chose the FITech system. And the reason I did that was, as you guys ought to know, if you're not really familiar with it, customer service and support is a huge thing. Well, I have a walking tech support just down the street from me. A good friend of mine has 4 of these installed on various motors of his. Down here in South Florida, it's a very common thing to see airboats out here, and the airboats run in big block Chevys, big block motors, and they'll have a gear reduction drive on it to run the propeller. But a lot of them run fuel injection systems, and just for the durability and reliability. And my friend happens to have several airboats, and he runs FITech systems on all of his airboats. He knows these systems in and out, and I felt that moving forward and down the line, that if I have issues, not only do I have tech support from FITech that I can call and get help with, but I have somebody who has real-world experience with working with these. So I thought that was pretty much a huge decision in my decision that I was going to make and which system to take. So I went ahead and got the FITech system. I ordered it from Summit Racing, and it was a basic kit. It's a 600 horse kit. The basic kit is $850. It's not that bad. And then I ordered a new fuel tank from Tanks Inc. with an in-tank fuel pump, and we're going to plumb the lines. I just chose what I'll show you what I did. I think is a pretty unique idea to run the fuel lines and the fuel return, and then we're going to finish it up with the front of the engine. I would start at the front, but right now I have the front of the engine torn apart because in preparation of doing this, I did a mock-up of the front end. I basically installed all the components on the front. And in doing so, I realized that on the water pump, where the pipe plug goes in and blocks off right next to the 2 nipples, you have to take that out to put the temperature sensor in for the fuel injection system. Like many cars, that thing has not probably been removed since the day that car was built, and it took a lot of effort to get it out. So I had to use heat and a chisel, and had to retap the holes and everything. Subsequently, I want to go ahead and send it out to get repainted. So that's where it's at right now. Also, I took advantage of all the brackets that were up front, all the pulleys, fan shroud, various other things that I've had, bracketry and so forth. I decided to go ahead and pull all those out and send them out to get powder coated. So then when they all come back, when I install it, it's going to look really nice. So we're going to start on the back of the car and move forward. So we're going to start with the tank first. But let's go take a look at the system and show you exactly what I got. So this is the system, and here's the kit number for it. And like I said, I got it from Summit Racing, paid about $850 for it. It's a really nice looking unit. Comes with the throttle body itself and the wire and harness, and then a few of the rest of the wire and harness. Oxygen sensor, O2 sensor, and so forth like that. So one of the things that I did not like, and I've already changed it out, was some of the fittings are a little, I don't feel that they're robust enough. So I'm going to end up changing some of these, like this O2 bung, probably end up changing that and so forth. And some of the other fittings like this and pipe plugs and stuff, they're actually aluminum. And to me, that's kind of a shortfall of the kit. So I'm going to end up changing some of those out. But here's the basic kit. Again, it's not too bad. I'm really happy the way it looks. So here's the fuel pump. Now what I did is I ordered a kit. It came with a tank from Tanks Inc. and the fuel pump as a kit, and the fuel and the sender for the fuel gauge. All of that as a kit. It's approximately $580. So I decided to go with that route. That way everything was compatible. And it just comes in, and there's the pickup, and then the fuel pumps in here, gaskets and stuff like that. So again, pretty nice little kit. and can't wait to get it started, to get it installed. So here's the tank from FITech, or actually from Tanks Inc. actually. And I went ahead and installed the fuel pump. So it's really nice because it's got the cutout here for the fuel pump and the sending unit. So the sending unit and fuel pump, and it's from FITech. Read the instructions really well. It's a little bit of a booger to try to get them in, but you can do it. It's just a little bit of adjustments, and you got to cut some, make some the mounting strap for this. You got to cut it off and get it the length and so forth like that. But the tank is excellent quality. It's actually powder coated this color, so it will last for a long time and not corrode. So I'm very impressed with the tank. The tank, the sending unit, and the pump together as a kit was a little over $580. I got it through Summit, and it's a Tank Inc. Kit actually. But real impressed. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. So now I have the tank installed. It's all up in the factory position, no problems, went right in. I'll show you what I did up in here. So there's a fuel filter, an additional external fuel filter, and I have these braided lines that I made coming from the tank. So they go over, so one of these are wires that I made. I got automotive style pig little connectors from AutoZone, and I wired in the power for the pump, and then the connections for the fuel sending unit. And I put these in these automotive style connectors so that I can disconnect them if I ever want to drop the tank. I don't have to cut the wires. So then I got an additional fuel filter and attached it right here. It mounted up perfect right there. So I come over. So one of the lines is obviously the fuel pump, the fuel line coming from the pump. The other one is a return line, because these are a return style system. So I'm actually going to put these up a little bit better and zip tie them up together and kind of connect them to get them out of the way. So, but they should be pretty good over there. So I'll show you what I did over here. So as you can see, I got these two lines coming in. One of them is the factory position for the fuel line. The other one is another factory fuel line. It's a 3/8 fuel line that I used to replace the 1/4-inch vapor return line that's come from stock on these on this car. So I kind of put it in the same spot. And I connected, made A-in fittings, and then connected it and secured it to the car. And if you notice, I kind of cut up in the wheel well here a little bit. And then I come along up underneath the frame. And then I got these connectors right here to hold it in place flat up against the bottom of the car. And I just come along, got it secured up here, and then go right back through the factory hole, and then come right up along in here. So right now this is where I stopped, because I'm going to have to run the lines and bend these and go up the firewall to go up towards the throttle body. So many of you already know that in an EFI system you got to have an O2 sensor. So that O2 sensor, what it does is it measures the exhaust gases, and it enables to determine if the mixture in your EFI system or carburetor, even some guys run them with carburetors, but it determines if your fuel mixture is too rich or too lean. So it automatically is constantly making changes. So through this O2 sensor is how this EFI actually works. This is kind of the heart of it. So what it tells you in the instructions is that your O2 sensor cannot be mounted on the bottom. It has to be mounted at least 10 degrees above horizontal center. And what that does is it allows moisture that it collects on that O2 sensor, either like when your car shut off or anything. It allows the moisture to run off and to escape the end of that O2 sensor. If not, it'll actually mess it up and destroy the O2 sensor. So what we're going to do is that we're going to actually mount it on this exhaust pipe coming off the manifold, and we're going to mount it just as it comes down around on the bend, and we're going to mount it on the top, so that way it always allows the moisture to escape off that tip. We don't want to mount it on the side, and obviously not on the bottom. And it also tells you never put it on the outside of a bend. Alright, so here we go. We got the O2 bung installed right there. So I end up having to take this whole exhaust pipe, the H-pipe assembly. I got it split in the back. I end up having to drop the exhaust pipe down, and then I drill a 7/8 hole in the top of it and then install this bung. So as you can see, I got it right now. The kit comes with a clamp assembly. So this bung molds to the pipe. There's a gasket, like an asbestos or something type of exhaust type gasket right there in between. And then they come with these two bands and you can tighten it up. So this is a way to do it without having to weld the bung in. I'm going to weld this bung in later on. I just don't have my welder right now. It's in the shop. It's DOA, so it's in the shop. So for now, this will work well. It's not a problem for a short term. Over long term, I'm going to want to weld that in. But it was not too bad. It's just drill that hole, install it, and then run the wire up to the connector that comes out of the EFI unit. So there you go. And notice I got it on this bin and I got it straight up so to facilitate any moisture coming down off of it. So that's the preferred method. Never put it on the outside of the bin and never put it on the bottom. It's got to be at least 10 degrees up off of horizontal center. So not too bad, easy enough. Okay, so what I got here is that I have gone ahead and finished off the fuel system. So I got the two lines coming from the tank. One is the supply, one is the return. I put some A-in fittings on it and some braided hose and ran them up to the EFI unit. I got it secured with a clamp right here. I even put a little butyl rubber on the screw there to keep any water getting up inside of there, and try to just prevent any corrosion. But pretty simple. Just ran those lines up there. So this completes the fuel system coming in from the bottom. Okay, so easy enough. I brought the fuel lines coming up. This one happens to be the return. The other one is the supply. So I just ran those braided lines up to here. And again, once I complete this and get it running and just everything, I'm going to tie up all these hoses and pretty them up and route them, make sure everything's routed properly, not rubbing on anything. But this is just kind of a down and dirty just to try to get it running and troubleshoot stuff and so forth. But so far, pretty easy. All right, so we just finished up fuel systems, so we're back up on top. So one of the things with these EFI systems that intimidate a lot of people is that they can do the mechanical stuff, hooking everything up, running fuel lines and so forth. But what intimidates a lot of people, and to be honest with you, it was a little bit on my side as well when I first started looking into this, was the wiring. How difficult is this going to be to wire this in? Well, I decided to go with a FITech system because of some other reasons and so forth that I've already talked about. But I did find out that the wiring this thing in is actually pretty simple. There's only a few wires to hook up. So your main wires that you have to have in order to run is going to be obviously your power. So you got to run this to a battery source. The next one is going to be a keyed ignition. So when you turn the ignition on, it's got to be a keyed ignition source. So I'm going to show you where I put that at right now. So I run a MSD Ready Run distributor, and one of the things that you do when you run that distributor is you actually eliminate the ballast resistor. So that way you got a full 12 volts going to your ignition coil. So right here on the other side of the voltage regulator, they actually have you connect the wires and tie them together. They're right here, and then this is the keyed 12 volts. So there's the wire right there. That's this white wire is the key power source for the EFI. So there's actually a little tag down here in the wiring harness that actually says key. So it makes it pretty easy. It's self-explanatory. It says right on the tag, key. So you just run this up, and if you run it right there to the other side of your voltage regulator, that's a 12 volt keyed power source. Now the other one is a TAC. So it's the blue wire actually right here, and it says TAC. So I ran it in the wiring harness, and you run it over to the negative side of the coil right here. Just like any TAC, you run it to the negative side of the coil. The other one is a fuel pump. So if you can look back here, there it is right there. So the fuel pump, you actually have a few options. This wire right here, this labeled fuel pump, can actually go to straight to the back to your electric fuel pump, to the positive side of the fuel pump. So you can run that hot wire all the way back to your fuel pump, and then that will tie into it. And that, through the EFI system, when you turn the key on, ignition key on, it will cycle your pump on and off as you turn the key on. So that provides power to your pump. If you turn it off, it shuts the power off. Now with me, I had a little bit difference, is that, let's bring it back out. With me, it was a little different because I already had an electric fuel pump on this car prior to me doing this modification. So I had a relay system set up in the trunk to power that electric pump. So after talking to FITech and getting the okay from them, that pump wire from the EFI, I run it to the wire that actually triggers the relay. So there's a hot 12 volts constantly going to the relay, and it's triggered by the one wire. And I used the pump wire off the EFI to trigger the relay. That way I didn't have to run any extra wires. I didn't do nothing. I just tied right into the relay wire. Boom, done. So pretty simple. Now there's also a fan wire, and there's also an AC wire. And if you're going to run AC, if you connect that AC wire, what happens is that when the AC turns on, it actually brings the RPMs up a little bit. And then the fan obviously is to trigger a fan relay if you're going to run an electric fan, which I don't have one right now, so I'm not running it. So the other wire is the water pump sensor. And you got to put a water pump sensor in and a temperature sensor, and then that runs to that connector as well. Pretty simple. And then of course you hook up your O2 sensor with the wiring harness. But other than that, it's really, really simple. Now prior to starting it, you got to hook up your little handheld, and this just goes right over to the plugs that come off the EFI. Now once you turn your key on and cycle it, this will bring up this menu. So what we're going to do is initially you're going to come up with this menu right here. And what you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to cycle down to initial setup and engine setup. So this actually connects, and what you do is you put in some parameters. So you tell it it's an 8-cylinder, it's a 440. Your cam is at mild from 1 to 4, 4 being a hot, really hot wild cam. Number 1 is a super low mild cam. I just went number 2 in between just to start with. Rev limiter, I put 5500. Idle RPM, this motor likes around 900. The pump PWM, low flow, that's a stock setting, 74.9 to 75. Just leave it. And the reset fuel learn, leave that as well. So once you get that, go ahead and hit send it to ECU, and it'll take you back to the beginning. One thing that you're going to find out is that if you go to EFI tuning, AFR targets, this gives you your air-fuel ratio targets that's already preset. Now if you notice, it says idle AFR 14.0. That's different. When these are brand new and you first hook them up, they default to around 13.6. And they told me that the reason is that they would rather have your mixture a little rich on initial startup, especially if it's a brand new motor. But if this is an older motor broken in, you can bump it up a little bit. I just went to 14 because that's a little bit more in the normal range. These are all, you can adjust these. You just toggle down to each one, and then you can cycle whatever you want. But I just left them in the stock position, other than the idle for now. Just hit back and actually come up to dashboard, and this will give you your live readings once it's started. So let's see what we can do. It lives! Ha ha! Well, this is a big day for me. I got it running, and this has been quite frankly, about a 15-year bucket list item to do, is to get this EFI on there. I cannot be happier that it's running. It's going to take some adjustments. I got to still tie up other stuff and everything, but the bulk of the work is done, and it runs pretty well. It starts right up. It seems to the EFI and air fuel ratio and on the O2 sensor, it seems to be seeking that target number and hovering right around it. I got a little bit of an exhaust leak on the one side. I'm going to have to address that a little bit. It probably will help and affect that a little bit because I'm not bleeding off some exhaust. But other than that, man, I cannot be happier. All I can say is if you're thinking about doing it, go for it. It's actually pretty easy. It's not that bad. Just a little thought process on how you want to do it. There's 1,000 different ways how you want to do this. But I found it to be pretty easy and a little intimidating at first, but boy, am I so glad I did it. Continue on with the upgrades, going to finish up some of the AC work and the brake work, and we're going to get this bad boy on the road soon. So I hope to have another video sometime soon to show you it getting back on the road. I cannot wait. If you like this video and this was helpful for you, please hit like and subscribe. I'm trying to just bring you some real world stuff here, and if you like it, please hit like and subscribe, and hit the little bell so when I get some other videos up, you'll be sure to be notified. So thanks a lot, and have a good day.